bands. W6MQI, K0DWC, and U6F.
Yeah, live in a low band in a residential area. Oh, that sucks. I've been very lucky around here. Hang on wood, man. Very lucky. I have to change the subject, Ron. Have you ever worked with combiners, RF combiners and splitters, ganging amplifiers together?
Oh, okay, Dave. I guess you're still playing with the little eBay amps. No, I can't say that I have. I mean, other than ones that were, commercial ones up on, what did we have? Yeah, there was a 430 meg bass gas radio bass transmitter we had, PG&E, that had I had a couple of amps and had a couple of solid state amps and combiner in it. It was an earlier model before they came up with the big transistors, but just looked at it, never had to play with it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've got the things figured out. I'm just scratching my head a little bit on which mix ferrite cores to use. It looks like 61 and 43, but I'm not 100% sure. So I just thought maybe I'd ask you if you'd ever messed with them before.
Yeah, it's like you say, seems like for anything for HF, it always comes out mix 31, 43, or 60, 63, yeah. I know the last time I played around a lot was with the Ballons I've made here. I had a commercial Ballon. I got a Hammond Hi-Fi, a real nice one, for out on the end of the long wire. But yeah, it would work fine, except for it wasn't working great down at the low band. I mean, down here in 80, it showed a lot of return loss. Yeah, anyhow, I ended up winding my own big toroids, doubled up toroids, and different mixes, and I've got written on the one out there now, but I think it turned out being a 43 mix. It was the one that I put in there, but oh well, I guess you build it and then put some power to it and see if it gets hot, and then say, oh, I guess that one's not the right mix.
WA60PE, anybody copy?
Oh my God, there's Tom. It's loud and clear here, Tom.
And to hear you up here in Lemon Valley.
Tom, it's good to hear you again. WA60PE, K0DWC. I've got you on the docket. Antenna, so all kinds of antenna problems here as far as masts and that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm back on the air.
Sounds great in Nevada.
Welcome back, Tom, W6SSP.
Yeah, howdy guys. Good morning to everybody. Messing with these masts and all that kind of stuff when you get older is not an easy thing.
Yeah, and I've got a tower here. Not much fun to climb when you get up in age.
Believe it or not, I'm considering a tower. I've got a bunch of roan sections. Don't have a, what's-its-face, gin pole, but I'm actually considering replacing the wooden mast with a tower.
Yeah, gin pole definitely makes it easier. I ended up making mine. It's not the best design, but it does work.
Tom, on your antenna mast and stuff, did you do the crank down on that?
Say again?
Did you do the crank down options for your new antenna? Well, this antenna, the support at the far end of the antenna, which used to be close to 40 feet, is now about 10 feet at the most. And it's the same length and the same antenna wire itself. It's just really low on the far end instead of being at 40 feet or almost 40. The wooden mast got modified a bit, and I used a block and tackle and an arrangement to lower the mast down by tilting it over at a pivot point on the support wood and all that anyway. Went down really nicely. It lowered down over and onto the roof of the house, and it was really slick. But going back up again on the way to start, it was a bad angle, and there was still some dry rotted wood at the bottom of the mast. And when I leaned into the block and tackle a bit, the dry rotted wood kind of gave away and slipped, and everything slipped, and it busted the pivot point, split the wood, and the whole thing came crashing down. It was laid there in a heap.
Wow. Man, oh man, I don't know what to say to that, man. That sounded like a miserable job to have to do. Wow. Anyway, we're glad you're back. You're sounding really good. So, let me give you the rundown as I have it, guys. In the one spot, I got Dave, W6M2I. In the two spot is Ron, MU6F. In the three spot is Tom, WA6OTE in the number 3 spot. And in the 4 spot is Steve, W6SSP. I'll make this the first call for early check-ins. If anybody else would like to check in early and be number 5, you're welcome to come now.
W7MS, and welcome back, Tom.
Oh, hi, Mike. Good morning. Okay, Mike, I got you in the 5 spot, sir. Anybody else want to check in early and be number 6, you can come now.
Hey, Ron, I thought, today's Sunday. Never mind.
Yes, I confirm that.
Did you go to Loomis yesterday, Ron?
Yeah, both Lucky Larry and I went there. We bumped into Mike at W6GOM and several others, but yeah, not many sellers. There were no temptations to dig out anything bigger than a $10 bill, so yeah, so much for that. But yeah, well, great. You at least got some RF back in the air again. WA6OPE in the group and U6F.
I don't want to interrupt anything. Clock's not running either. My station clock is run down to Chelsea ship's clock. You got to wind them every week, and I haven't wound it in about a month. So I don't even know what time it is. I know it's approximately 7:15 or something like that. So don't let me interrupt anything. WA6OPE, standing by.
Yeah, Tom, that's okay. It's 7:20. I'm just making a periodic call for early check-in, so no problem. I will make one more call here for early check-ins. If anyone would like to check into the Vince Military Radio and be number 6, you're welcome to come now.
Texas, Bravo, Charlie Tango, again, wrapping it up.
Hey, good morning, Bill. N6BCT, Q5 copy here in Dayton this morning. I've got you in the number 6 spot, sir. N6BCT, in the number 6 spot. Starting out here in a few minutes. Like to be number 7. Please come now. Okay, I'm going to make one last quick call for early check-in for the vintage military radio net. We're going to start the net here in about a minute or so. So, like to be number 7. Please come now.
Okay, well, we can get the net started here about a minute early. So, well, good morning to all, and welcome back, Tom, WA6OPE. It's always good to hear your voice on. We're glad you're back, and glad you got your antenna problems knocked out so you could get on. So, congratulations on that feat too. That's great. All righty. This is a vintage military radio net. This is K0DWC. My name's Chuck, and I'll be your net control this morning, and we'll be operating on 3.974 megacycles. Vintage military radio net is a round-table AM net that provides an opportunity for licensed hands to operate the vintage military radio gear on the air. Military gear is encouraged and certainly not a requirement. And check-ins will be given a number that can be used in the handoff, and I'll call for the check-ins at the end of the roundtable session. If anybody has anything for sale or needs something, please mention it during your turn in the roundtable session. So the list as I have it right now is in the 1 spot is Dave, W6MQI. In the 2 spot is Ron, NU6F. In the 3 spot is Tom, WA6OPE. In the number 4 spot is Steve, W6SSP. In the 5 spot is Mike, W7MS. And the number 6 spot is Bill, N6DC. So, is there anyone that would like to check in for the first round for the vintage military radio net and be number 7? Please come now.
WA7YBS.
Hey, good morning, sir. Good morning to all you gentlemen. Everybody's signal is good today, even Bill. So, Henry, I've got you in the number 7 spot. Is there anyone else that would like to check in and be number 8 for the first round? Please come now. I thought I picked up a WA and then they faded away. Anybody catch that?
Yeah, it's Kevin, WA6KKN.
Yeah, it's Kevin.
Okay, he was really down here. I heard WA and that was all I heard. Everything fizzled out after that. So, okay, Kevin, I've got you in the number 8 spot. Is there anyone that would like to be number 9? Vintage military radio net, please come now. Okay, let me just give another quick rundown of call signs here for the two that just checked in. Number 1, W6MQI. Number 2, NU6F. Number 3, WA6MQE. Number 4 is W6SSP. And number 5 is W7MS. Number 6 is N6DCT. Number 7 is Henry, WA7YBS, and number 8 is Kevin, WA6JKN. So with that, good morning again to all. We're running the ART13 1490A combination this morning, 200 watts. Inverted V, 232 mic with the electric module. So that's the rundown here. So anyway, we'll go up to the top and we'll send it over to Livermore where sounds like Dave looks his raincoat this morning. W6MQI, K0DWC.
Okay, it's hot. Yeah, it's raining here in Livermore. Raining pretty good, too. All right, good morning, one and all. Ron, Tom. Welcome back, Tom, Steve, Mike, Bill, Henry, and Kevin. Everybody's sounding good this morning. Band's a little noisy here, but other than that, everybody's sounding good. And I'm on the TCK7 this morning with the 75A4 receiver. And like I said, it's raining and 52 degrees. And I just noticed my neighbor turned on his LED porch light, and I'm surprised I'm not hearing them. Well, I've got a set of those that string across the yard, and I can't even use 80 meters when I turn those things on, so got to make sure those are off when I'm on the air. But anyway, that's the rundown here. So up to Ron, NU6F, W6MQI.
Okay, Dave, W6MQI and the group, NU6F. Yeah, good signals all around. Sadly, like I say, everybody's got a loud SCR buzz to their signal, but it's not as loud as it has been. So there we go. Anyhow, I've got this morning the TDE again and the RAL5, the long wire, and using the 4CX250 afterburner, running 180 watts carrier. So there we go. Sure good hearing Richmond back on the air. WA60PE and U6F.
Okay, thank you, Mom. And U6F, WA6OPE in beautiful Richmond, where it is raining, and about 52, something like that. Anyway, beautiful day yesterday, not so good today. Anyway, well, this, back on the air, the expedient antenna, and it's about 10 feet high on the far end, with a bent pole clamped to a tie anchor. The tie anchor is about 5 feet high, and it's at an angle because it was straight when it was installed 30-some years ago, but the weight and the pull of the mast over the years caused the thing to lean over its head. So then there's an extension that's clamped on the tie anchor pole, and then the little halyard at the top, and that's my antenna these days, for now. So the whole mast situation's got to be re-engineered, and at bare minimum, have to replace the wood. At least one 2x4 has to be replaced, drive that. And the pivot point, I've got to change that, and the pivot mount. So they'll do some engineering there, and I'm also thinking about putting a tower up instead. So put them on the air in the meantime. With the same old TCM transmitter, antenna current is really close to what it was before. And plate current's down about just a bit, but if I play with the loading, whatever, I can get it back up to plate current. But the antenna current's close enough, so I'm glad I'm getting out. I'm sure my signal's not as good as before. People seem to be. So let's see, a question to the group. Opinion, experience, knowledge, welcome. In digging around in all my free time here, my people attempts to get organized, that'll be the day. I ran into a whole box full of NOS, new in the box, NOS, NIB, electrolytic capacitors. And I took a couple of them out. These are really nice ones too, you know, the usual 450 and 20, 30, 40, 475, that kind of stuff. Brand new, still in the original wrapping. And I put them on a sprig cello mic on the bridge, and every section that I measured was right on the bridge. If it said on the can 30 microfarad, boom, the cello mic says 30 microfarad. And the leakage, it brought the voltage up a little bit with the sprig. And a little bit of leakage, but it went away right away, got down to zip, no leakage shown at whatever rated voltage, 450 volts. So, you can hear the question coming, right? what's been your experience using, and all of these NOS capacitors, I saw a 1967 date code on one, and I saw a couple of 72s and 73s, that kind of stuff. What's your experience if you wanted to use one of those? Or would you use one of those? I think I know the answer to these questions, but I hate when I have to throw these things away. They're beautiful, and whatever. Anyway, so that's the question for the day. And another question popped into my head. I noticed in the latest electric radio that N7RCA has scheduled the swap meet in Minden for this first weekend in June again. And I thought he was going to move that. Anybody know what happened there? So, okay, here we go. Off to Steve. Let's go to Santa Rosa. W6SSP, WA6.
Okay, Tom. Oh, let me checking the dials here. There we go. I think it's okay. Really good to hear you back on, Tom. We've missed your pearls of wisdom the past few weeks, and hope to get your antenna up at a higher altitude in the near future. Sounds good here, by the way. Really good signal, no problem. Good conditions in general. A little higher noise than normal. It's okay. Tom, on your electrolytics, I'll tell you, I've been burned a couple of times using new old stock capacitors that tested really good. And what happens is, I would say, if you're going to put them in equipment that's used often, I'd say they're fine. But if you're going to use them in equipment that sits around for years and then power it back up again, that's where I've had problems. Anyway, that's a sense on that subject. I generally don't use old capacitors if I can help it. New ones are so cheap these days, it's easier just to put them in. Anyway, this is Steve in Santa Rosa. It's raining here. It's been raining all morning, pretty heavily actually. And using the same equipment, Collins 32V1 and 75A1. And I just wanted to mention that the whole month, April 22nd, was the Sonoma swap meet. It's usually pretty good. It's a lot of interesting stuff shows up there, so it's kind of worth going to in the area. A teaser. We're working on putting together a Santa Rosa swap meet in September of this year. It's getting a lot of traction, a lot of support in the area. We have a venue, and we even have a date tentatively set up, so that's a teaser. Anyway, over to Mike, W7MS, W6SSP.
Well, thank you, Steve. W6SSP, W7MS, of course, Mike and Reno. Well, good morning to all the attendees this morning. Looks like we had a few drops of rain sometime currently or overnight. It's a little damp outside, but not enough to measure on the weather station. But good conditions, and great to hear Tom and all the other folks, and a great description on Tom's temporary on-the-air antenna, but based on the receive level, and that's the audible receive level, I hear no difference. Great signal. And this morning running the, it's been ignored for the past couple of months, the TCS pair and the Collins 30S1, about 250 watts of carrier, to the usual antenna and the usual fits-all D104 microphone. But yeah, comments on caps, I guess Steve had a few good comments, and I think my experience has been generally positive in that area. And I guess one thing that goes back years is, say, within the multi-section can caps, where you've got a low-voltage cathode bypass capacitor shoved in that can. Sometimes there can be internal leakage from the high-voltage B+ capacitors to that low-voltage cap, which can screw up your cathode bias in the audio stage. But that's one observation. But I think reformulation and etc. You've done the right things, Tom. So I would say go ahead and use them. And Steve does make a point about reliability, but man, a little bit of other derivation is some of the replacement options, say from hayseed. Those things are those things just look like SHIT. I mean, they're like pathetic, a lot of them. And there's a lot of discussion on the Collins reflector on this issue. Somebody sent some reforming information in PDS and got severely beat up. But I think I'd also question, I'd really hate to see some of these classic devices and what the craftsmanship issues look like when these guys are done tack soldering all these capacitors and hayseed hamfest devices in these classic devices. There certainly may be a dramatic change in reliability and/or appearance based on those issues, but that's the way that goes. But great signals. Maybe we'll cover Loomis on the next round if we have a chance, and that we'll just see how that goes here. So over to Bill. And Bill, we heard you excellently, and of course Chuck, thanks for running the show. So M6 BCT W7MS.
Okay, and very good, Bill. And I'm just doing a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of adjusting this and that. And that's wonderful. And so anyway, good morning to all. Good to hear Tom in there, WA60PE. And yeah, when I first moved here to Dayton, I had the antenna, one end of it tied to a wheelbarrow. So, hey, you got to do what you got to do. And as far as signal strength, you're 40 dB on the carrier level meter, and that's just about what you normally ran before. So, doing good. And good morning to everybody else. Everybody else is also doing good, except I didn't really hear Kevin. But I heard the WA that Chuck mentioned, but nothing else. But we'll see what happens. Bill is very strong. He's almost as strong as Chuck. So, good job, Bill. And let's see. Mike is also, wow. It's full quieting and then some. You're stronger than Chuck. And so, our field is very good. We're on the 32B3, running about 110 watts of carrier power. The receiver is the Collins 51J4, the light gray smooth finish panel version. And I know you all are waiting for the serial number on it. It's 4723, so it's a fairly late 1960-ish 51J4, and of course it has the Collins sticker on the back that it was used at Collins. So anyway, it's a nice J4. Out of the 3 that I've owned, don't have 2 of them. I got rid of them. This is the best one. Does not have the 6KC mechanical filter. Collins installed a kind of an RC coupler in there, and it's their work. You can tell. Plugs in, built on a piece of garolite, and it uses a little red mica capacitors that columns love to use, and gives me about 12 kc bandwidth in the 6 kc position. So excellent on, well, not excellent, but pretty good on AM. So that's the rundown of the receiver. Using NOS caps, I reform them. I use them. I use them all the time. So, reliability, I only had a problem once or twice. Not really anything to get really bent out of shape about. One thing to avoid is the liquid capacitors, and those were really only used in the kind of the early 30s. And they actually have a solution in there that settles out over the years. You can tell, you shake them and they sound like they have liquid in them, because they do. But, after 90 years on the planet, that solution settles out in there, and you got a big glob of it at the bottom of the capacitor and water in the other part. And of course those caps, there's no reform. You could reform them for 100 years and they would never work as an electrolytic. But the regular old dry electrolytics that are really kind of a paste, if you reform them, I've had very good luck. And I'm with Mike. I'd rather see all original caps in a set than, tack soldered crap in there. So, just my opinion. Well, let's shoot it over. Oh, temperature was 39 this morning. It's cloudy, but it hasn't rained yet as far as I know. So anyway, we'll see what happens. River Road is kind of half open. It's officially closed due to mud and crap all over the road. But it's close to official traffic, like when Amazon Prime came up to deliver a package over the street across from us, which is Sandifer, and the Amazon Prime truck got stuck in the mud. That was kind of funny. It stayed there for about an hour until a tow truck came and pulled them out. So River Road is closed to official traffic, but it's open for locals. So there you go. That's the report. Over to Kevin, WA6JKN, WA7YBS.
Okay, this is Juliet Kilowatt November. That way I completed my call. Yeah, I started transmitting, and apparently I had a little bit higher SWR because of it was raining through the night apparently, and it affected my antennas. Doesn't normally, but it did this morning. I'm using an amplifier that has one of those microprocessors in it, and it interrogates the antenna right at, generating a little bit of RF, and it said, nope, not going to let you have full power. Not for very long anyway. It shut down. So, hang on a second here. There we go, that's better. So I fired up the antenna tuner, and that took care of the variation. Good morning all. I'm hearing everybody so far. This is Kevin in Gilroy. And electrolytic capacitors, just like Mike said, there was somebody that talked about reforming and stuff, and he got beat up pretty good. That's what happens sometimes when you throw stuff out there. You take a risk. Well, I'm going to apply that same risk to the question of the morning about the capacitors. Well, you went through your test, and the test showed that it was promising, so I would just leave it as whatever floats your boat there, Tom. Capacitors of that vintage, if I remember, the biggest thing going for them against them is age. And, I'm feeling run down and whatnot. Go to the doctors, and he makes you feel better, and you're good to go for a little while longer.
as long as you did leading up to that point. That's the way capacitors are. You reform them, you might get some good life on them, so long as, who was that? Was that Steve that talked about using the radio after you replace the capacitor? If it's going to be in line, you're probably going to be okay for a while, quite a while. But if you're going to put it back on the shelf, you're just going to, well, if you'll probably experience the same thing you did before you started. The thing will start leaking. The thing is, what is the oxide or something inside evaporates, and the thing just has problems. As a result, starts leaking. So it's kind of a whatever floats your boat. Now, tacking is probably, you should be tacking capacitors. So get yourself a couple of terminals, mount them in there, and put your capacitors across the terminals of your actual lead, and make it look really nice. Use good, solid mechanical terminations, and use new capacitors. You won't have to worry about putting it on the shelf for a while. So that's my 2 cents worth of information. Don't quote me for accuracy, but I use all new capacitors. I don't mess around, and don't tack them. That's too tacky. All right, I guess it goes back over to you, Chuck. I didn't hear anybody after me, so back to you, sir. WA6 Juliet Kilowatt November.
Okay, Kevin. Yeah, that's, I'm glad you got that straightened out. You got that ground pounding signal back again. So you're really pounding the glass here this morning. Great signal, great audio. All right, fellas. Great first round. We're all, looks like we're all pretty much running different stuff again today, which is pretty neat. The only thing that looks close is, well, Steve's running the V1, 32 V1, and Henry's running the V3. I would consider them two different transmitters. Technically speaking, they're probably, probably would be the same, but a few little things here and there make it a little different. So I'll separate them. Okay, great first round, guys. Bill, he started off, I mean, I didn't have any problem hearing, understanding or hearing him, but man, at the end of his transmission, he really kicked up. He was loud. I mean, actually loud. That's the loudest I've ever heard for here. So, boy, the conditions really must be something. Man. Well, so it's raining in the Bay Area, and Dave reports it's raining in Livermore, and I think Steve said it was raining in Santa Rosa, so the wave is on the way. So I know they called for some rain in Carson City, but I didn't see any rain listed for Dayton, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, usually, we'll get kind of some remnants of what the Carson City weather is usually, but a lot of times we don't. So anyway, okay, well, Henry, thanks for the water report over there. There was a couple fellows asking Wednesday night what your situation was there, and I kind of explained to them what the deal was, so sorry I didn't get back to you any sooner. I'm going to give you a call here this afternoon. So, but anyway, I hope the water has started to recede somewhat. The northwest corner, I believe, was the culprit when I last talked to you, so maybe you can give us a report on the pasture and on the northwest corner of the property there. Because I know it was like, what was it, 2 feet below where the house was there on the northwest corner, if I remember correctly. But, maybe you can enlighten us on this second round here. So anyway, let me give a quick call out and see if there's anybody that wants to be on the tail end of the first round and be number 9. If you'd like to be number 9 for the Vintage Military Radio Net, please come now. Okay, nothing heard here. So with that, we will send it back up to the top. Dave, the TCK sounds fantastic. Ron, the TDE sounds really good, really great with the motor generator in the back. Tom, you got a great, clear signal. Steve, no problems at all, great signal. Mike, pound in the ground. Bill, a great signal. Henry, pound in the ground, and Kevin, pound in the ground. So that's my signal reports here. W6MQI, K0 DWC.
All right, Chuck, W6MQI. I agree, everybody's sounding good here. In fact, I'd say Kevin is top dog. You are full quieting here in the Livermore, Kevin. Nice sounding signal. All right, well, I don't want to rehash the capacitor thing too much, but I'll put my half cent in there. I agree with Steve and Kevin. I'd just replace them. That would really bum me out if I had a nice piece of equipment and later on down the road the capacitor blew up and destroyed something in there that was not replaceable. So yeah, they're too cheap. But yeah, the Johnson Ranger went through that, had a capacitor blow up and destroyed the front panel meter. And so it took me a while to find a new panel meter, but ended up finding it. But yeah, capacitors are cheap. I wouldn't think twice of tossing them in the trash can, but that's me. Anyway, yeah, that Wednesday night net, Chuck, I've been missing that. I get up so early on Thursday morning, so I got to be in at work at 5 o'clock in the morning. That 9 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night is pushing my bedtime. So hopefully sometime here in the future I'll check in again. And talk about getting up early. I had to drive my daughter to the San Francisco airport at 4 o'clock this morning. So I just stayed up ready to go back to bed when I got back. Sent her, she was been on, what do they call that, spring break. She went to Fort Lauderdale with her friends and played in the water down there. It was 90 degrees, got a nice sunburn. Came back here for a few days, now she's going back to Indiana. So, got 6 more weeks of school. And then she comes back, and then she goes to Europe. She's going to do a whirlwind tour of Europe, starting up there in Amsterdam and working all the way down into Italy. So that'll be a fun tour. Projects here, as I just mentioned to Ron before the net started, I've been reading up on power splitters, combiners. I want to gang a couple of solid-state amplifiers together. So I've been reading up on that. Still haven't really decided what cores to use. Hearing a lot of conflicting answers on that. So WHAI's website, you mentioned different types. I'll try those first. Anyway, having some fun with that. That's the only thing I've been doing around here, radio-wise. Last Thursday, I finally got a chance to go out with some friends to do some trap shooting at the local gun club here. Haven't done that in a long time, but I had a lot of fun with that. Get back into doing that. Fortunately, it's a little hard to come by these days, especially with it all going over to Ukraine. Boy, I guess that's Ukraine is the ammunition supplies. Not only here, but elsewhere. Can't even get reloading supplies. It's crazy. Anyway, that's all I got here. Hand it back up to Ron, and you success W6MQI.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, signals are dropping and QSB in and out, but
still good copy. I just wish everybody would take that buzz off of their audio. Yeah, this interference is kind of weird. It doesn't sound that strong. You tune in on CW, tune through, and yeah, it's there. But man, I'll tell you, it's just sitting on the perfect frequency for us, and it's riding on everybody's audio. So everybody is gargling. But anyhow, yeah, speaking of trap shooting, well, I can send you the neighbor's old Netgear Wi-Fi repeater. That's definitely worthy of a shot right after you hear pull. But yeah, there's lots of stuff out there. This almost makes me think it's so widespread now that it's like maybe farther away, maybe down by one of the warehouses, big SCRs charging forklifts, or I don't know, whatever. But it does stop occasionally. A couple of days ago, I called a neighbor. I said, "Hey, did you unplug that?" "No, it's still plugged in." But oh well, there we go. And okay, Dave, on the your daughter's spring break, getting her back to the airport this morning. So kind of wonders when does Dad get a spring break? I don't know. Talk to the boss and find out. And yeah, capacitors, I won't say anything either. It's like yeah, if they check fine, no leakage and the rest, why, yeah, I let them go till they blow. And like Dave says, I guess until you pay the expense of collateral damage. So maybe protect nearby devices just in case. And Tom, yeah, signal sounds, yeah, just about the same. Like Henry said, I really couldn't have probably noticed a difference. So, you know, I know we scrimp and save to try and make the more ideal antenna setup, and maybe I'll gain a couple of dB here, but sometimes at the far end it doesn't seem to make much difference. So there you go. You might want to borrow Henry's wheelbarrow if it worked better than the fence post. But let's see, Bill. It's yeah, same thing. It was the noise is really affecting Bill. I can hear his carrier fine, but the audio just rides on top of him, and I really can't pick it out. And I guess Mike and I and Larry, we made our presence there at the swap meet, but Mike's the only one that got anything that he was looking for ahead of time. But yeah, there were no other stuff. There wasn't anything else there. So I did pick up several small parts and stuff for projects. So you know, they may pay off in the end. It was a trip worthwhile. But it was good weather, so that was fine. Otherwise, here the only big project is the big transmitting loop. I've got 26 feet of copper, 1.5-inch copper pipe all brazed together, and I've got another 8 feet to braze in, and I'll have the octagon, and I'll be digging this week maybe to go ahead and put some support posts for this thing in the backyard. But yeah, mechanical issues with the tuning caps and the motor drive and the rest. There's lots of other stuff. I got a couple of micro switches here, so it's a big mechanical project, and hopefully electrically it will pay off. Okay, with that, over to Richmond with the OPE sloper NU6F.
Everything's looking at antenna current here. About 3/4 of an amp. carrier. So, yeah, it's pretty close to where it was before. So anyway, it's looking good. Thank you, everybody, for your opinions and the vast knowledge base on electrolytic capacitors. And, yeah, you know, I just was looking at one of them here. I pulled out the box. These are mostly followers, although there's a couple of other well-known brands in there, too. And I found the pass around this particular one. This happens to be 2020. These are twist locks. Full section twist locks. And this was the one that's like 2 inches and a little over 2 inches tall. But the normal outside diameter of half an hour or so. They are really nice. They're almost kind of like a corn cross. And the legend was just beautifully stamped on the aluminum with the capacitor. One about different stuff, like Mike said with the AC Amfest. You know, it's a shame. They provide a service. It took them forever to get a true twist lock. There for a while they didn't make a true twist lock, and there's still a couple other capacitors that they don't do. But I hate those labels. In fact, I used one of their lovely one of the concepts that I was doing some mattress ago, it's a G77 mouse. Needed a new section can. So then I found a box of NOS capacitors at that point. So I ordered one for Casey. And the capacitor, you know, works okay, checks okay. I know what's inside. It's not really like an old-fashioned electrolytic. But the damn labels on them are really, you know, I know, Mike, I know exactly what you feel. I feel exactly the same way about that. If it was a really nice, pristine piece of expensive equipment, in fact, I even tried to peel that label off, it wouldn't come out. Terrible with it. But, anyway, well, thanks for the opinions and information. And, you know, when you first put these things on the spread, they're shorted, they're leaking really bad when you first put them on. And you bring the voltage up slowly and you watch the leakage disappear. And then you bring it up another bit and watch the leakage disappear and get all the way up to rated voltage. And they seem to hold very nicely. So yeah, I've got an RBO receiver that I needs an electrolytic in it. I may try one of these new old stock capacitors. I'll charge it up, I'll check it on the spray, and then put it in when I get around to it, and see what happens. Probably add a fuse also. So anyway, that's what's going on here. Hi everybody again, and good to be back on the air again. Glad I'm getting out as well as I'm appeared to be getting out. And the antenna, yeah, big sloper, but it's cut out in the clear, which is a good thing. A really good thing. So we shall see what happens. And conditions are pretty good this morning. And we'll see what happens when we get into bad conditions. But anyway, that's not bad. I was surprised, well, I'm not surprised. I didn't expect to hear Grandpa Miller, KD6 TKX type, Grandpa Miller, no Grandpa. I didn't expect to hear him. He's probably with the new grandkid by now. And I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. I don't know that information escaped. But anyway. Okay, I will keep it moving. Thanks again, everybody, for your opinions. So, all good stuff. It always depends on everybody's experience. But, you know, we just a bunch of guys and each guy's got 40 or 50 years of storage and experience with this stuff. So, it's all valuable input. Beautifully saved all that. Anyway, here comes Steve. Oh, swap meet in Santa Rosa. Interesting, but unfortunately, I think there's a conflict. There's always a conflict. With the military vehicle meet in Plymouth, which is a week-long flight. So, I'll double-check that date. Hope not, but, you know, you can't avoid it. No matter what the hell you want to do, there's always a conflict with something. Anyway, W6SSP, WA60PE.
Okay, Tom. Very good. Yeah, one more comments on using old plasters like plasters. One possibility is if they're rated at use them in a receiver where B plus is 200 or 250. That reduces the risk quite a bit. I've done that a few times. But even if you decide not to use them, I would not toss them. I save them too. I've got quite a few new box capacitors. And occasionally I'll pick up something that is where the cans on the old caps are just corroded and cruddy and stuff like that. And in that case, I'll take out the cruddy looking cap, put in a new cap, even though I'm not using it, and make things look nicer. So I wouldn't toss out stuff. If you do, you're sure to need them later on. Anywho, yeah, and swap. I'm amazed at the we used to have a very good swap in Scottsville 25, 30 years ago. Where we'd get 50, 60, 70 sellers. There are a lot of hands in this area. And the guy running it kept jacking up the price, and a couple of years later they brought up the house. So anyway, a lot of estate sales have been happening here. Can't sell stuff. And with shipping, that makes things really difficult. For those folks. Ajax, for those that can still hear me, quite a big QSP now. Conditions are fading. But 9 months after I bought them, I finally got around to completing both KWS1s. This week, the older one works beautifully. It just works fantastic. Very, very smooth tuning. The newer one, the lowering is definitely sparking a little bit, so it needs to be cleaned, but that's it. Otherwise, that's quite well. Very happy with that. Took quite a bit of time in both of them. One of the things I did was replace all of the electrolytics. Well, going back to that subject. In fact, on one of them, on the newer one, I took out the screen supply transfer. So, here's one example, Tom. Things are going good here. Real happy to get the 3WS ones both up and running, but the biggest challenge is that finding a place to put them. And I've been thinking that. Another big problem is getting 240 volts to them. I've been running them off of 120 volts so far. And it doesn't work very well. I would not put 120 volt line with a 15 volt. So anyway, over the mic, W7MS.
Well, thank you, Steve. W6SSP in the Sunday Morning Military Group, W7MS. Well, good reception from all, good comments, and a very receptive Tom for all this old coot capacitor conversation here. You know, it's chuckling. It would take Henry to mention wet electrolytics, but good job, Henry. And one observation that I'll make is in the audiophile community, I've seen some capacitors that claim to be electrolytics that claim to be 500 volts operating DC voltage, but what they've done is lowered the operating temperature from 85 C down to 60 C. And the maximum operating temperature goes hand in hand with maximum operating voltage. So that's specmanship in the audiophile realm. Take a lower voltage cap, lower the operating temperature to 60 C, and call it 500 volts operating. So figure that one out. But let me see here. Tom asked about 6.3 for N7 RCA. I have no idea, other than I had a conversation where we discussed the date in my reservations on his couch for the swap. And of course, that's in conflict, I believe, with the AMI barbecue down south, and I think that was the same situation last year. So what's new? But let me see here. Boy, all kinds of notes. Oh yeah, about Loomis yesterday. Yeah, I did the pickup exchange on the ART-13 pile. It's a later vintage Stuart Warner with the Air Ministry nomenclature on the data plate contract tag and a bunch of odds and ends. So I think between that, Tom's donation of the ATC-1, and some of my other stuff that I have to get the ART-13 project, which of course the full intention is to have one that's powered from a dynamotor. So that'll give me some extra incentive. Yeah, there wasn't a lot there, but I think as Ron had mentioned, the freebie pile. And I got a excellent condition HP 3312A function generator that was free, and it appears to work just fine. I can add that to the function generator and pulse generator pile. So, couldn't turn it down. It had the feet in the bales, which are always missing from vintage HP test equipment. So I figured I'd at least have feet and bales if this thing is a brick. But got that. Also for Steve, I'm curious if he knew. Bill, Tom, God, I'm afraid to pronounce his name, but his call sign is WA9ETO, lives in Reno. He was my co-pilot for the trip, and he's a former engineer there in Santa Rosa for HP. I think that goes back many years. He's done a lot of other activities in his career as an engineer, but he was attached to that facility at one time, and currently lives in Reno and has for quite some time. And let me see, what other repetitive stuff? Oh, conflicts on swap meets. Well, just by chance, Mr. John McGrath, N9 AMI, posted from Florida, a swap meet at the Martin County ham swap yesterday. So there was a conflict with Loomis, but it was in the state of Florida. And actually, if you watch the video, it made Loomis look extremely great. There wasn't a lot there at the Florida swap, and of course, like Ron, I came back with a bag full of freebie parts. I was picking the local ham club estate freebie pile because as things didn't sell, they would get tossed in the freebie bin. So we love freebie stuff. So probably too much information, and I have more information, but we'll keep it rolling. Over to Bill, N6 BCT W7MS.
Anyway, I've been thinking about that capacitor
Okay, Bill, N6 BCT, WA7 YBS, very good.
Okay, good copy on all. A little bit of QSB coming in there, but still everybody's got good strong signals. Mike is still top dog, even beating out Chuck. I'm impressed. That 30S1 really helps. And you sound great. Well, let's see. One other thing on capacitors and replacing capacitors, and this is something I've done twice, and it's not as bad as it sounds, but if you can't stand the brilliant solar yellow that those polyfilm caps have, when you put those in, if you're not going to restuff the original shells, I painted them. One time I painted them gray and color-coded them, and another time I painted them black and color-coded them. And believe me, you can paint them. It doesn't affect anything, except the appearance. And all of a sudden, they almost look original. And it sure tones down the, what's with modern capacitors? Why do they have to be, fluorescent orange, solar yellow, or, some sort of cosmic blue? It's just, why can't they be, brown or some subtle color? Anyway, paint them. Works really good. Okay, on the stuff that's going on, the water, we had a guy, I guess the county hired him with a, I don't know, he had a backhoe or some sort of tractor type thing, here 2 days working on River Road, and he's got it pretty well fixed as well as he could. The main problem was the Virginia Creek, 6 Mile Canyon Creek, the drainage off of the Comstock coming down here, had breached and was coming over and running down a street called Sandifer and onto River Road, and it was just doing tremendous damage. And it's just really rough. Can you say it was a flood? And so I did, but it didn't come from the river. It came from the Virginia Creek. And so anyway, this guy with the tractor went up there and he put a berm, a killer berm on that. It must be 4 feet high. And the problem is the people that lived on that street would drive through the creek and they just mashed down any corrections made. So they finally have closed that road, bermed it up, and so we don't have any water coming down that anymore for the time being anyway. But that cured the water, and it's allowed River Road to dry up. And like I said, Amazon Prime got stuck up there a couple days ago up Sandifer in mud. So it's still pretty wet up that way. But River Road's doing okay, and the property is dried out for the time being. But so anyway, that's the flood report. And so let's see what else is going on. I was reading an interesting story, which of course I incorporated into my web article on the Collins 51J series, and that's on the 51J5. And I'd never heard of that, but there was a prototype, several prototypes, 3 of them at least, built in Canada, at the Collins place up in Canada, Toronto, I guess, and it combined a 75A4 rear end with a 51J4 front end, and so you had essentially a general coverage 75A4, and that was the 51J5. Of course, it never got released, and stand by. And it never got released, and it was only made it through the prototype stages. Had a little trouble with the passband tuning. That didn't work too well with the so anyway, interesting that they had pursued that of combining 75A4 and a 51J4 into a single receiver general coverage 75A4. So anyway, that was that little tidbit is going into the website. With that, over to Kevin, WA6JK and WA75.
Okay. Very interesting, Henry. WA6JK and Kevin and Gilroy. The 51J5. That's too bad it did make it. That would have been fun to have that. I have a 51J4 here in the shack. I have it sitting on a. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. I have it sitting on a small portable table. It's got wheels on it, so it's kind of nice. You can move it around. And on top of the 51J4 is the 75A2. Yeah, I really like the 75A2. It's a great AM reception. Great sound. Very, very nice. 51J4 with the mechanical filters, it does okay. It's kind of like the 75A4. I don't particularly like the mechanical filters. They just don't sound. When you switch between the 75A4 to 75A2, you can really tell the difference in the quality of the audio. And of course, my all-time favorite is the National 183D with the push-pull. It just sounds, well, it sounds hi-fi. That's what it sounds like. But, you know, I ran into a problem. I think I mentioned this once before. You know, I have all these column speakers, but they're too big. So when I brought the 75A2 and the 51J4 in here, I said, where am I going to put two more speakers? So what I ended up doing was looking at the terminals in the back. I saw 8 ohms. I think it was 8 ohms and 600 ohms. So I said, okay, if I take the output of one, put it in the just take the output of one receiver, put it into the 600 ohm of the second receiver, and then I could put the speaker on the 8 ohm terminal on the second receiver. So which receiver you turn on? It would drive the one speaker. That's what it is. You can even have both receivers on at the same time, and it will drive the one speaker. So I ended up not having to put two big, because I would have ended up with 3 big column speakers in here. It's just too much. So that was my solution. It worked out really well. Okay. Mike, I did see N9AMI's video on the Ford ham swap there. That was, it looked like a lot of walking and very little to see. A lot of empty tables. I don't know if they sold out already or they just did not sell the table. They'll rent the table out, so that was interesting. And the one thing I picked up on was kids traveling. That's a big deal. My kids do that annually. Well, they haven't during the COVID, but they're back to traveling the world again. My kids and their spouses, they have an annual pilgrimage. Excuse me, my voice is to various places in the world. They'll take it all different places. They've done extensive traveling, and they just have a blast. They love it, and they look forward to doing that at least once a year. So that's a good thing. I think it really opens up when you start seeing how people live in other countries and so on and so forth. All right, back over to you, Chuck, and conditions are good. WA6 Juliet Kilowatt November, Kilman and Gilroy, and really enjoying all the comments this morning.
Okay, Kevin, W6 JKN, 30DWC. Well, the signals are still pretty good, but there is some QSB creeping in. Anyway, let me make a call out and see if there's anybody who wants to get in on the tail end of the second round here and be number 9. If I can check in, Village North Bay Radio net, please come back.
W4 DVQ.
Well, somebody finally woke up. W4 DVQ, K0DWC. Go ahead, Carla.
Good morning, guys. I've been listening. I've been starting a fire this morning. So, I didn't do that right. K0DWZ, this is Whiskey 4, Delta Victor, Quebec. So, I am waking up. Only had a half a cup of coffee so far, but everybody sounds good. I've been listening. Well, welcome back, Tom. Good to hear you back. And Kevin, it's good to hear you as well. So I was holding my microphone weird. I'm used to the D104. Sorry about that. But I'll keep it short and hand it back to Net Control. K0DWC, this is W4 BVQ.
Okay. W4DVQ in the number 9 spot. I guess she'll be back to the 7-3 round. Alrighty. Alright, guys. Well, let's go ahead and start the 7-3 round because the QSB is starting to creep in, and I want to give everybody ample time while the conditions are still relatively good. So we'll go ahead and start up to the go up to the top in the number 1 spot, W6MQI to take it. This is K0 DWC. This is a 7-3 round, fellas. Go ahead, Dave.
All right, Chuck. Yep, conditions are starting to fade here. And good morning to Carla. So I'll say 73 and pass it on up to Ron and U6F W6MQI.
Okay, Dave. You know, Carla mentioned backing off from the microphone. I keep forgetting to try that on this. I think I want the T17 on the mic on the TDE. Doesn't seem to need very much audio. I'm purposely now backed off on the mic. So I was looking at the scope and I said, man, am I screaming into the mic or what? So I backed off about 6 inches, and yeah, this is where I was talking, like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it looks like this is probably where I should. So, oh well, we'll see if there's any difference, as if we're looking for hi-fi, like Kevin mentioned on the NC183, which got me to think, that's right, there sure weren't a lot of radios that use push-pull audio, but yeah, it would be for AM anyhow. Sure would make it would make a little bit of difference. And Mike, yeah, your signal's loud and clear, and that's interesting on the capacitor reading. I hadn't noticed that, but a simple little sleight of hand to go ahead and make it look like you had a 500 volt cap. And let's see if
if I had anything else here in the notes. Okay, on the 51J5, yeah, that's kind of interesting. The best of two worlds, because there never was to be. Okay, with that, 73s to all. Oh, as far as my bad seed, the ICOM 736 that I had a lot of hours in that thing trying to fix one of the VCOs, and I finally found a board, a PLL board on eBay, and I lowered my frustration level a lot. Pulled the crystal from mine, put the crystal in, soldered it in the new one, popped it in, recalibrated it, and yeah. I hate looking at something in the shack that's, I got to get around to that. So that's done. The remote antenna tuner that I've been using the last couple of years, my auto tuner, the displays both went out. It worked. And so I hated to dig back into that project, but yeah, it actually fried the serial ports on the little kit controller. Luckily, I still had saved the files, and my programmer, it took me about an hour to remember how to do it. Popped a new chip in that, and it's done. And I will not be using the remote display on 10 meters. Apparently that was my problem this last couple of weeks, running a couple hundred watts on 10 meters. And man, that RF was getting into places that it never did before on the other band. So, lesson learned. All right, guys, 73s, I'll catch you later. With that, back down to Richmond, and glad to hear things back on the air. WA60PE and U6F.
Okay, thank you, Ron. NU6F, WA60PE. Very good, and good morning to Carla. Good to hear you again, Carla. And, yeah, Ron, PDE rides again. The Major DX station there. How about that, folks? Working Major DX, big gun, working DX with a PDE transmitter with a motor generator and a RAL receiver. Oh, man, that's a good one. Okay, let's see here. Well, anyway, not too many more comments here. I don't think I have any more comments. How about that? Okay, 73, everybody. Talk to you all next week, hopefully. And we'll see what happens next week. Okay, over to Steve. W6SSP, WA60PE.
Okay, thank you, Tom. And 73 for those that have signed. And Henry, boy, I like your idea of painting electrolytic caps, the aluminum caps. Never even considered that before. That's a good tip. I've got a few things here that have corroded, nasty old caps, and everything around them is shiny and nice, but they stick out like a sore thumb. So I'll remember that in the future. And Mike, very good on your HT3312A. Those are nice little signal generators. The function I like best about them is the sleep mode. And I use one of those. I use mine to set up the diversity combiner on the RCA-R3 that's over at QTH. Here's the audio combiner. And the way they did it was they broke up the audio band into 3 separate bands. And there was coding for each of the bands, for each of the receivers. The only way to align it and make sure it was right was using a split code. Pretty cool. And 3 no less. Man, that's great. Your ART13 television, I'm still looking for you. 14 minutes. It's one major problem missing. And the cartridge on that one, still fixing that control. Let's see, I think that's it for my comments. Enjoy the net. And a lot of fun. I look forward to these every week. Over to Mike. Oh, Mike, one more thing. Yeah, your co-pilot. If you worked at HP in Santa Rosa, I was there from 82 to 97. Sold some dogs for a few years, but he was in Santa Rosa during that period. There were about 6,000 people working there at the time. And I a lot of people across all three divisions. What are you? W7MS? W6SS?
Yeah, okay, Steve. Yeah, I gave some thought. It's Tom Brinkotter, I believe is how it's pronounced. It starts with a B, and it appears to me to be Brinkotter. I've always been a little embarrassed to ask. How do you pronounce your last name? So is that familiar? Okay, well, we ran that one by, and I'll do the same. I'll run you by him sometime in the future. I always kind of just, it's something I've been meaning to do over time. So, yeah, W7MS, still great reception from folks here on the frequency. Good morning to Carla. Sounding great. Great modulation there from the station, and always sounding great. And also, yeah, a message to Tom. Yeah, I did notice there was a certain lack of gender identity on the new grandchild for Andy, and I thought about that afterwards. I sent him a text of congratulations because I had all these just great emojis that I could send his way on the iPhone. But that did occur to me that well, I guess Andy's new at this, so he admitted the gender and the weight at birth. That's a traditional, and didn't see any cigars lit up in the photograph there, so that's great. And a few comments here, and I'll hopefully not time out 75, but this has to do with the collecting community and had to do with the RCIF transmitter that I obtained, the AT7, and its companion, the AT1, which is the 12-volt dynamotor version versus the 24-volt. And the fact that last August, when I obtained that AT7, there was virtually zero documentation, nothing to be found. So Andy bridged me over to a contact, Jacques, up in Montreal, who bridged us over to Tom in British Columbia, and we obtained which was an abridged manual that was basically a training documentation for the maintenance folks in World War II for maintaining that unit, but it provided enough information, like a schematic and what all those pins on the connector do, that I was able to resuscitate the AT7. But here this week from Jacques in Montreal arrives a PDF of the second edition of the original RCAF manual. And he had discovered it like all of us. He has a lot of stuff, and he was digging for something else recently and ran across this manual. And good on him. He remembered me. He remembered the conversation, the email chain that occurred. Transferred that over to his contact in the UK, who cleaned it up, did a PDF, and also watermarked it. So the folks on eBay who sell CD-ROMs of manuals, at least it'll be watermarked, that someone will get the hint that it was free and available. So that's up on a website in the UK, and then Tom in BC put it up on his website. So interesting, we went from zero documentation to some documentation to the actual manual is available for all to see. In not a common device and probably not a common want. And the other tie-in was Robert Downs has the original manual, but it has to be cleaned up and put to his standards of PDF quality, and he's really not up to it. He said he would help me, and he would do that, but he's ignored my emails over several email follow-ups. So not to put a downer on Mr. Downs, because he's 75, and he also had some equipment changes on his end as far as manual reproduction, so there were some questions on how much of a pain in the arse it would be to do it. But just a great salute to the community and good memories. So golly gosh, I've got a great PDF of the AT transmitter manual, and that just came out of the blue via an email earlier this week. So now that I've timed out 75, we'll say everybody have a great day, and hot news from Reno, we're up to a hundredth of an inch of rain. It's just pouring cats and dogs. So over to Bill, N6 BCT W7MS.
Okay, Bill. M6BCT WA7YBS. All right. Well, I see the little things have changed. Tweak and peak. Right at the very end. Okay. You know, we're all set. I know you can't really tell the difference, but it makes me feel better because the meters are where they should be. Okay. Well, morning to Carla. Great. That darn thing. Okay. Anyway, yeah, sounding great. And so, get on to the second cup of coffee, I guess. We'll go ahead and say 73. Steve, on the payment caps, if you're still listening, I was talking about those polyfilms that everybody puts, those yellow jackets, so-called yellow jackets. Those Malaysian-made or Taiwan or PLC-made capacitors that are everywhere, and end up the yellow is just super, visually irritating, and so I've been painting them. If I'm too lazy to read stuff that use the original shit, or it's not worth the effort because of what it is, then I'll paint those capacitors, and it just tones down the wrinkle underneath to where it almost passes for original. At a casual glance, they aren't jumping out and attacking the retinas. So anyway, that's what that was all about. 73 all around. Everybody have a good week. Be at control next weekend. So with that, I hope to hear everybody back. And good to hear Tom in there again, W60PE, 73, and over to Kevin, W6JK, WA7YBS.
Okay, Henry, that's funny. Yellow jackets attacking your retinas. That's I gotta write that one down. Words of wisdom and warning when you replace capacitors with those yellow jackets. Yeah, that's something. Well, anyway, let me say hi to Carla. What a treat to have you stop by this morning. And this is the 73 round, so I can't talk too long here. But I will mention Mike at W7MS agreed on that manual. That was quite a find there. Glad that people are sharing that information. I want to offer you, if you don't have this already in your PDF file, a lot of PDF files that are out there on radios. Like there was one I needed for the TCS-12 quite a number of years ago, so I found a place on the internet, downloaded it, and it was 300 pages or something like that. And so going through that was kind of painful. So I remembered that I had the professional version of, I forget what it's called, PDF something or other, and it has optical character recognition built in. So it can take the picture that somebody scanned for their manual, and it uses a pretty old technology. I remember when it first came out, we used it in our crypto department for the properly formatted classified document, run it through our optical character recognition machine, which was back in the old days, they were very, very expensive. And it would convert it digitally in proper character format for crypto, and then we would send that over the secure line. But they now have optical character recognition software generated, been available for at least 2 decades that I'm aware of, that I've used it personally, both professionally and personally. So if you have that manual and you can't search, this is the reason why you want to have optical character recognition performed on your PDF document, so you can search a large document. It also most of the time picks up the designators on opponent schematics. So if you're looking for something on a schematic, they'll find it through a normal search. So that's something that could be useful to you, Mike. Send me the document. It doesn't take that long to run it through my optical character recognition. And I usually put an extension on it just before the extension, underscore OCR, so you know it's searchable. Or you can do it yourself. Just be prepared to pay the big bucks for the capability. All right, that's it for me. Back to net control. Glad I was able to make it this morning. The very best of 73 to 1 and all. Oh, Henry, the one thing I'd like to hear, hopefully I'm around the next time you think of it, talk about how you coded. After you painted those capacitors, how did you code them to know what did you code them? What was the code that you used to identify the capacitors? That's the only thing I didn't hear. That's would be important. WA6JK, and back to you, Chuck, and thank you for doing a wonderful job controlling this morning. WA6JKN is clear. Good morning.
Okay, Kevin. Thanks to Carla. Close out the next morning to you fellas. So here's Carla, W4DBC.
Okay, K0DWC, this is W4DBC. It's nice seeing or talking to everybody, so not much to say other than everybody have a good week coming up, and still look forward to seeing everybody at Bragg. So I'm going to hand it to K0DWC, and I'm saying 73, guys. This is Ford Delta Victor, Quebec.
Okay, Carla. All right, guys. Well, good work this morning. A lot of good information to share. A lot of good information all the way around. So glad everybody's doing fine. And very glad to see Tom back up and running again. So we look forward to everybody again next weekend. So with that, I'm going to do the Venus Military Radio next, and I want to thank everybody for their participation. I will be back next Sunday morning. And with that, we'll turn the frequency back over to the regular hourly use. So you guys take care, and thanks for being there. We appreciate the support Henry and I both do. And we will talk to you later. So I'll say my 7-3s. This is K0DWC, Dayton, Nevada, signing off. 7-3, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. And again, good morning, Carla, W7MS. Everybody have a great day.